control, around controlling allergies. Okay. I'll start with some of the mold measures that we tell our patients about. Remember, the extent of allergies, the extent of the controls rather, is to do with how severe the allergies are. If a person's getting really, really bad asthma, is really, really struggling with allergies, the controls have to be stricter. If someone's just getting a very mild snotty nose and mild symptoms, then you don't have to go the full haul with the control measures. So one of the first ones with mold, the most common place for mold is usually on ceilings, and bathrooms are the biggest mold collection areas, around the toothbrushes, around face cloths, around toilets, around showers. So all those places, if a person has a mold allergy, they need to wipe it all down with Jik, some sort of Jik solution. There is a product you can add to paint the walls with it. This prevents the growth of mold. It's not a long-term permanent investment, but it does slow down the growth of mold, which is easier for people who have a lot of mold in their houses. Also, one of the places that's missed in homes is the windowsills, window frames. If the window frame is made of a dark wood, the spores are not as easily seen. Whereas on white wood or white window frames or aluminium, you can see the spores. So if it's a house that does have mold and they have dark wooden window frames, they need to wipe those down with Jik as well. The other place, obviously bathrooms, remember toothbrushes, around the toothbrushes. Anyway, often when people put toothbrushes in a jar, the bottom of the jar gets a lot of mold and all that, those places. Wooden flooring is, or tiles or laminate flooring is one of the better options if there's mold, especially if there's been wet carpets, because the mold goes through underneath and the spores release and go everywhere. Mold on blinds is some place that people mislook. One of the things to be very careful of is mattresses, especially for young children where you've had bedwetting, where you've had a baby posseting, where there's liquid that has gone through onto the mattress and often hasn't dried properly and hasn't been able to be put in the sun. Those beds must have proper covers on to protect from mold growing. Advise the patient to check all places with rubber. So, for example, the rubber around your fridge, inside grows black mold. The rubber around the washing machine, so the front end loader, so the door as well as the rubber on the inside of the drum, top loaders, the rubber on the inside of the drum, and the filters. They all have a lot of mold that grows in there. The dishwashers, same thing, rubber around the edge will have mold there. That must all be wiped out regularly with a Jik solution to get rid of the mold, bleach solution. Tumble dryers, they release off a lot of moisture, so they're taking it out. If you can get pipes to put it outside, otherwise it needs to be in a very, very well ventilated or warm room. That doesn't really matter if it gets too much mold in. Remember, ventilation is a big thing for all homes. If a patient's home has a lot of mold in, they do need to have a very well ventilated rooms. Often difficult depending on the seasons. If they can't keep it well ventilated, they do need to look at a dehumidifier. They mustn't leave clothes indoors to dry if it's a house with mold, unless it's well ventilated, warm. Beware of not to put damp clothes in the wardrobe and damp towels in a linen cupboard, because linen cupboards are usually closed. It's a big place for mold to grow. In the kitchen, the most common things that everyone knows about is bread and cheese that grows mold. People often don't think of sweet potatoes. Those release a lot of mold. Any other foodstuffs in the fridge that have grown mold must be thrown away. And if they've been in a container, it must be washed with hot water and soap. And the fridge must be wiped down with the Jik solution. When you throw the stuff in the bin, please don't let the bins get overfull, especially people that do recycling, because they tend to have the foodstuffs, more of the foodstuffs in the bin compared to if it was mixed with non-compostic sort of waste. So that must be emptied. The other thing to be careful of in kitchen, or for food, for people with mold allergies, is blue cheese. Blue cheese is made with Penicillium notatum. It's made with a mold. It's not a cheese that you can eat if you have mold allergies. Then compost bins as well. So for those that are making compost at home, if you've got very bad mold allergies, you cannot have a compost or bucket or anything close to your home. It needs to be either very far away, lid on, not there, or not there at all. If your allergies are very mild, then you can keep a compost bucket at the bottom of the garden. But you have to weigh up how severe the allergies is. But this is just advice to give the patients. Living in certain areas obviously makes mold more of an issue. So, for example, in the summer in KwaZulu-Natal, you're going to have more humidity. In Cape Town, there's more humidity in winter times. If you live near a forest, there's going to be lots of mold and humidity. If you live near a wetland, if there's a flowing river and there's lots of weeds and all that, there'll be more wetlands. Remember as well, people who live by the sea, the seaweed releases lots of mold spores, so there's a lot of mold when you're living close to the beach from the seaweed. And then lastly, everyone's favorite for mold is wine cellars, especially if someone has a wine cellar in their own house, or if they go to wine cellars a lot, that there's obviously a lot of mold there. The next thing I want to chat about is pet allergies. Now, pet allergies is a very sensitive and can be a very emotive topic with patients. The allergies come from the skin cells and the saliva of animals. The golden rule is that you do not touch your face unless you've washed your hands after you've touched a pet. And that is dogs, cats, horses, guinea pigs, whatever. Wash your hands before you touch your face. Don't nuzzle your face in the pet. Don't go kissing the pet. Don't let the dogs lick the faces, especially in the case of children and stuff like that. If you have someone who's got severe asthma, severe allergies that you're not getting asthma control, and this is quite a life-changing condition, one really has to think carefully about rehoming the pets, which obviously is always quite a traumatic thing. If the allergies are milder and if it's just nose and it can be controlled, then we can look at the other control measures. But as I said, this is always a very emotive topic. The golden rule, as I said, wash your hands. No cats or dogs sleeping on the bed. No cats or dogs sleeping on the in the bedrooms. If people sit on the couches, the animals mustn't be in the couch, on the couch. Same with guinea pigs. Guinea pigs, rabbits, whatever, not in the bedrooms, not on the bed, nowhere close, no nuzzling. Wash your hands before you touch your face. Remember, if you do decide, or if the patient decides to relocate a pet, the dander stays around in the home for quite a few months. So they can get rid of the dog or the cat, but it's not necessarily going to go away instantly. It will take a while before the allergies go away. And also with children, people at work, you often are exposed to dander on colleagues and other kids' clothing. So they mustn't now think, oh, well, I've made a huge mistake. It will help, but it just takes a while sometimes. Horses are another one that are quite a common allergy. People who really love horses, obviously those are not in the home often, but again, it's a choice that they have to make depending on the severity of the allergies. If someone is really adamant that they don't want to get rid of the pet, there is desensitization available to dogs, cats, and horses, both with slit and with skit. We have in the past had a case many years ago with a lady who had multiple cats, was not prepared to get rid of it. And Professor Potter, who is retired, said to the patient, well, then you need to put plastic sort of covering on your clothes, wear gloves and keep stroking your cats and take your antihistamines. But the patient has to understand what the risks are depending on how severe their allergies are. When it comes to birds, you can be allergic to the feathers, you can be allergic to the droppings, and the feathers also carry molds and mite. So again, allergenic people, birds, probably not a good option. Right, the next thing is house dust mite. House dust mite next to grass is probably one of the most common allergies that we see. It's a condition, it's an allergy that we can control. We can't, unless you do desensitization, you can get rid of it, but you can control the environment quite well. Again, if the child or adult is suffering eczema everywhere, really, really severe, you have to be very strict with putting all the conditions in place. If not, just maybe a pillow cover, whatever. First thing about the house dust mite is the house dust mite lives in dust and it multiplies in soft furnishings. Everybody has dust in their home. I have found over the years it's very important to explain to the patients that it's not about dirt or hygiene, because a lot of people get quite anxious and think, oh, well, they've got a dirty house. They don't have a dirty house. Everybody has mold. Sorry, has house dust mite. The house dust mite have got extremely strong claws and they can hang on, and you can only vacuum them away if you've got an exceptionally strong vacuum cleaner, or if they're dead, you can vacuum them or wash them away. So the three ways in which we get rid of them is by starving them to death, which I'll explain, overheating them, basically cooking them, and freezing them. I'll go through all of those with you now. So the biggest thing is to reduce the exposure. So house dust mites mostly come out at night. They live on, they eat your dead skin cells, and then droppings are what actually cause the allergies. A female can lay thousands and thousands of eggs, so your exposure is huge. They go back down into the mattress, the pillow, and the duvet during the day, and they come up at night and they nibble and they go back down. So the only thing that we endorse and that we put forward is a product called Dream Guard encasings. Now, Dream Guard is a company that imports a fabric. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a very thin plastic film on the back, and it's very breathable. It doesn't make you sweat, and you can actually, in theory, breathe through it. And they make encasings. So I'll get to that as well. It's an encasing. It's not a cover. You just go, you can contact them, info@dreamguard.co.za. You contact the lady Diana. She will give you pamphlets, she will give you samples, she will explain it all to you, she'll give you prices. She's very, very helpful. The patients can do everything online. We just give them a list and tell them what they must order, and they do it all online and it's delivered to their house. She will custom make if somebody's bed is a different size. So the three things that people need to do is they need to get encasings, which is a cover that completely zips closed around the pillow, one around the duvet, and one around the mattress. Okay, DreamGuard has also been endorsed by AFSA, which is the Allergy Foundation of South Africa. Okay, I always tell the patients it's quite expensive. It's going to cost them between 1,000 and 2,000 Rand to kit out their bed. But these covers last for 5 to 7 years. So it's quite a long-term investment. I usually advise the patients to order it in steps 1, 2, 3 if they haven't got the money to buy all of it together. So number one is the pillow encasing. The pillow is closest to the face. It's where the most exposure to the mite is. The pillow encasing, you zip the pillow into the encasing, so it's completely encapsulated, and you put your pillowcase over that. If the patient has 10 pillows on it, how many pillow encasings the patient needs to buy. Three-quarters, what And then by a king size cover, we put the cover over the mattress, and then every 3 to 6 months they take the cover off to wash, but they leave the encasing, and what goes on underneath is, you just don't worry about that. So that is an option for the very big beds, especially around with the duvet. Then with all of these, and then you've got to come up with different solutions. A lot of patients here shove it in the freezer for 6 hours and then put it through a cold wash, and that washes the dead mites away. With little children, all the fluffy toys, and they've all got fluffy toys, you have to limit, unfortunately, you have to limit them. So what I usually say to the little kiddies is, let's donate to some poor children that don't have, or if they're exceptionally special, you put them in a chest or in a cupboard or something that's closed, and they keep out one special one, and they can rotate it if they really don't want to get rid of them. You put it in a Ziploc bag twice a month, stick it in the freezer for 6 hours, put it through the washing machine, and then they can get little Teddy back. And then if they want to rotate them, they can do that as long as it's washed before it goes on the bed. Because that again is quite an emotive issue for especially the little children. Okay. Remember things like blankets when people are watching TV, especially in winter months, we often sit under blankets while we're watching TV. Those need to be washed either in a hot wash or put in the freezer, whatever, at least once or twice a month. Remember, the house dust mite are most active at night, and that is when you spend quite a long time where you are still. So the bed and the bedroom is the main focus. The lounge and whatever is like a secondary, just keep tabs on it. Okay, about twice a week, leave the bed unmade, leave everything open to air, and get some sort of flow through. Then every 3 to 6 months, you pick a nice warm day, you take all the linen off, including these encasings. You wash the encasings in the hot wash, tumble dry first, cold wash, freeze, whatever works for the patient. Then before you put it back on the bed, you must vacuum the mattress and vacuum the pillow, because the dead mites are there, and dead mites can still cause allergies, even though they're dead. So if the patient can wash it, it's just less PT, and it's easier for them to wash the mites away. Then you put the encasings back on, and you carry on as normal for another 3 to 6 months. Ideally, with a vacuum cleaner, you do need to get a vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter. HEPA stands for High Efficiency Particle Air Filter, and it's a much finer filter, and it catches the house dust mite before they fly out the back of the vacuum cleaner. Okay, they are all the Miele, Dyson, Kirby, they're all very expensive vacuum cleaners, all have a HEPA filter, but all major brands now make 1 or 2 in the range of HEPA filter, but it must say HEPA filter. If it doesn't say it, it hasn't got one, and they are about 2,000 to 3,000 rand. So they're more expensive, but still affordable. They need to also, whatever vacuum cleaner they get, needs to be quite powerful to suck off those mites that are possibly not dead, because they don't come off otherwise. There mustn't be carpets in the bedroom. Carpets are a huge breeding ground for house dust mite. You have wooden floors, laminated floors, tile. You still vacuum the floors. You damp mop the floors, and you damp dust the surfaces in the bedrooms. The bedroom has to become sort of quite a minimalistic look. Blinds must be wiped down regularly. If it's curtains, they must be washed regularly. Very minimalistic look. Be careful of headboards. Headboards are a big thing preferably wood, no material. You do get mite sprays that kill off mites, but remember, if the dead mite is there, it can still cause allergies. So if you spray the headboard, you still have to keep vacuuming it, and you still have to do it regularly. I've had a patient in the past, they had a family heirloom tapestry as a headboard. So you do need to question and ask questions about what is the bedding. So minimalistic is a way to go for house dust mite people. Lastly, I just wanted to say something about grass and pollen allergies. Now, these are obviously something we can't control. They're seasonal, so the only way to control them is nose sprays, antihistamines, as you will explain to the patient why. One of the things that the Lung Institute has, or the Allergy and Immunology Unit, should I say, has, is a pollen count, which is done regularly all the time. You can go to www.pollencount.co.za, and there's a weekly pollen count. So for people who are allergic to grass and pollens, it gives them an idea of where they're at, where they need to be very strict with their medication and not so strict to prevent further flare-ups with their allergies. Remember, with all these allergies, desensitization is available. I'm sure Dr. Mavalani will talk more about that. It is a bit of a difficult thing to order in South Africa, and it's quite expensive, but it definitely works, and it is an option for those that are really, really struggling. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Donna, for such a wonderful and informative talk. And I'd like to give a very great thank you to Dr. Masocha as well, who's really highlighted on an important thing to look at when one is making a diagnosis of allergic rhinitis and